wow. Hello, everyone. Hello, thank you for tuning in. Oh, I see that Kat has joined us. Kat, can you request to join the live? I'm like technologically challenged, guys, so thank you, Flo. Perfect, okay. Ooh, is this thing gonna stay up? I don't know. I don't know if I accepted. Okay, I think I did.
Hello.
Hello, Kat.
Hi.
Hey, nice to see you.
It's great to see you too.
Oh my God, you look great. I'm loving the braids.
Thank you, lovely. I gotta get them redone though. It's been a minute.
Really look good. You look good. You always look good. I feel like the blonde suits you. I feel like blonde hair on black women. Mwah,
Yeah,
so
this is my look for life. I think I gotta keep it part of my brand.
honestly, it is your brand now. It is your brand, girl. But how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just getting off the high of the last show that I did.
True.
On Valentine's Day. It was a huge success. I debuted my live band. And we've been practicing since like October. So the show's been a long time in the making, and it turned out amazing. I really was not expecting the turnout, and yeah, I'm just elated about all the support we've gotten.
Yeah.
And just, like, the next steps and everything. That's how I'm doing right now.
Great. Do you have any plans tonight?
Tonight? Yeah. No, I have so much cleaning up to do after the show. I have all of this like decorations and merch and stuff everywhere that I've got to figure out, and all this administrative work to do. And yeah, and plus I work early tomorrow, so it's gonna be bed early for me.
So you have a productive weekend ahead of you. Like, honestly, I love that you're taking that time for yourself though, just to like get your stuff in order. Because I find that sometimes, like, you know, weekends are for relaxing, but I feel like it's also for like getting your shit together. So,
yeah, definitely. For me, my Saturday nights is, I feel like, when I get like the most stuff, the most chores and everything done, like, and then by the time Monday rolls around, I feel like refreshed now.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. It's good to have that balance, I find, you know, because it's hard. It's definitely hard because it's like you're so busy during the week, right? So it's like, okay, it's like, where do you find the time to like relax and, you know, take time for yourself? So honestly, good on you, girl, because I'm still trying to find that balance. It's kind of non-existent right now, but we're working on it.
Yeah, girl. Take the time for yourself. It's so worth it, and you'll end up coming back, and when you go back for work, you're gonna be like just twice as hard of a worker, have twice the energy, way more in it.
I agree, girl. I'm trying to get into that, but it's all good. It's okay. One day. But thank you so much for joining us, Kat. I just want to do like a brief introduction of essentially what this segment is about. So for those of you who have tuned in as well, thank you so much for taking the time today to be here with us today. Just for a brief introduction, my name is Tina, and I am the host of Freegxrl, which is called media, which is called the Freegxrl Spotlight. So essentially, this segment was started because, you know, we wanted to just highlight and bring forth Black women who are essentially just like breaking barriers and like, you know, doing their thing. And so I feel like with this segment, it's essentially just to highlight those, you know, Black women who are, you know, breaking barriers, doing their thing, and who are just, you know, being free girls. So that's essentially what this segment is about. And today we have our special guest who goes by the name of Kat Valentine, or who is also known as Kat Moscone. So if everybody could give a warm welcome to Kat.
Hello.
Kat.
Hello, everybody.
So, oh wow, love that. We're gonna ignore that happen, but But thank you so much, Kat, for taking the time to speak with me tonight. I really appreciate that. But before we dive into our interview, I just want to put it out there. You're so talented. Like, so, like, I just love everything about you, like your vibe, like your aesthetic, just everything about you
Thank
is just
you.
so unique and just so amazing. So I just wanted to hype you up a little, girl, because you are doing your thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank
Of
you so much.
course. Of course, girl. I just got to give you your flowers. So I just wanted to put that out there. And like before, I don't know if you realized, but in the background, like before you joined, I was playing some songs off of your EP.
Yes, I was hearing body. I was like, yes, girl.
But I was like, girl, we have to put the girls on. We have to put everybody onto your music because you're so talented at what you do. And so even like while I was getting ready before this interview, like girl, I was just blasting your EP because I was like, what? Hold up. I was like, you have vocals for days, okay? Can I just put that out there? You have a voice on you, girl.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I no, I do try to make music that I don't think like fan service is bad. I try to make music that people will like, and I try to make music that's also a little interesting and different too. And I think like I managed to get a good reaction from everyone who happens to hear me. I usually don't have any non-fans. I show people my music,
Right.
even people who I think would hate it. So I think I just need more people to listen to it.
Absolutely, girl. And you know what? Good look, you got a good reaction out of me, so so clearly you're doing something right. Yeah. So, with this interview, I honestly like I just want to get to know a little bit more about like you and what you do. And nothing it's nothing too serious. I just want us to chat. I just want it to be a small kiki, just a little like get to know you, type of interview. So, with that being said, let's dive into it.
Oh,
So, for those of you who are tuned in, for those of you who don't know, Kat Valentine, she is a pop singer and she is based in Windsor, Ontario. And so you are a singer-songwriter, obviously. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, you were born and raised in Windsor, Ontario, is that correct?
yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to know, like, when did you realize that you were passionate about like music and like singing and songwriting? So when did that
Um,
first
I really don't know. Like I have photos of me like before I was able to like fully form sentences, singing into karaoke machines and playing
Yeah.
around drums and stuff. Like it's always been a thing I was doing. Like even when I was like 5 years old, I would like memorize the dances for music videos and then like perform them in front of my family at
Yeah.
like events and holidays and stuff, and like little mini like Barbie drum set when I was like 8 years old.
I
I
love
started playing piano when I was 5. Like yeah, I've been into it, so this has just always been like the only destiny for me is
yeah.
making music.
I love that. So do you feel as though like have you always been like you mentioned like when you were younger like you were just always like would you consider yourself like a musical child? You like always surrounded by like do you come from like a musical family?
No, I don't. I did grow up with like a piano in the house.
Yeah.
That like my dad, he only played like a couple of songs
Mhm.
on. And it was passed down to him from like my no-no. Um, but like I really had to like explore music for myself at a certain age. I was mostly just exposed to the music that was like mainstream, and then whatever my parents played, which was a lot of like for my dad it was like 80s dad rock
Yeah.
and for my mom she loved like pop and like Duran Duran and the Eurythmics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then honestly, growing up, I really liked Hannah Montana. That was that was my role
He
model,
was
and I had a whole like second persona named Diana Lamos.
Yeah.
That was when I named my Hannah Montana persona and everything. So yeah, and I had to like beg my parents to like do certain things to like get me involved in certain stuff. And they were mostly like really supportive of a lot of the stuff I did, but they were not musical, really.
Oh, right. Girl, you just had that talent. I don't know. You were blessed. You were just blessed with that voice. Because I find that like with musicians and like with artists in particular, like when you like dive into like, you know, their backstory and like just to see like how they got into music, a lot of the times it's like, okay, yeah, they mentioned that like, you know, yeah, you know, I was constantly surrounded by like, you know, music, or it's like they came from like a family of musicians. So to hear you say that is actually very like, girl, like you're very blessed to have, you know, to have been, you're very blessed to have been like granted like these like talented skills, girl. Because like trust me, it's hard when you're not constantly surrounded by it. It's definitely hard to get into it. So you're very lucky in that sense, for sure.
I feel like even more lucky though to have like the parents that I do that were supporting me
Yeah.
through everything. I think like the hardest thing to get them to support me on was when I did The Next Star when I was 13. I
Uh,
had begged every single season to audition, and it was a no-go every single time. And the year that I did audition, they did not think I was going to make it. So they had no idea what they were signing up for. And it wasn't, they didn't think I was going to make it, not because they didn't believe in my talent or anything, but it was like a TV show, you know, it was like a big thing, you know? So yeah, they had no idea. But after that, like, any opportunity that came my way, they were like, yeah, let's go. Like, I went to Toronto to like audition for a couple other TV shows a few times, and we just kind of dropped everything and went and did that. And like, I would do shows and stuff around, and they would just take me, and it was no problem. And yeah, they've been like that ever since. So very, very blessed to have
that's
them.
awesome. No, that's really great to hear, because I find that when you have like a good support system, like it even motivates you, and it's like it motivates you even more to like, you know, to like accomplish like your goals and like your dreams. So it's really great that like you had that like already like set in stone.
Yeah.
So that's very great to hear. And even on the topic of the next star, actually, which kind of leads to my next question. So when I was doing my little investigative work, like obviously you're a contestant on the next star, a couple years back, and so I wanted to know, like, with that experience, like, do you feel as though with you being a contestant on the next star, did that like essentially like help you like evolve like in your artistry, and like did that kind of like set the tone for like the projection of like your musical career, would you say?
Yeah. So the next star was definitely like a turning point for everything. I feel like it became like a way to kind of like validate myself as a musician going forward, validate the possibility
Yeah.
of me being an industry artist. Um, it was during a very formative, sensitive time in my life. So honestly, a lot of the experiences I had on the show were kind of traumatic.
Really?
Um, yeah, I mean, like it's difficult. It's 2013, and I'm this young, loud black girl
Yeah.
figuring herself out. I'm just came out as queer to basically everyone in my life 2 years before.
Right.
Um, and I was coming into this thing where out of everyone there, I was the one who kind of idolized the show the most. I
Yeah.
knew the most
Yeah.
about it. And I think maybe that gave me some naivete
Yeah.
about like trusting people and trusting the way I was going to be portrayed or how things might go down.
Absolutely.
And it definitely made me less, I don't want to say optimistic
Yeah.
about the industry, but it definitely changed my
Yeah.
mindset and solidified in me like, okay, like it's not going to be enough to be yourself. You are going to have to be so calculated
Absolutely.
and so perfect and so much better.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be okay with getting less.
Yeah.
There was a moment when I was on the show where I knew I wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
So I started taking in different things from the experience, and that, I think, helped me a lot.
Yeah.
What honestly was accepting the fact that I was not that girl.
Girl, you are that girl. Let me just tell you, you are that girl.
I am that girl.
You
I'm not that girl that wins the contest, but I am that girl you remember.
You are that girl. You are that girl.
But yeah, I ended up, when I decided I like winning was not my goal.
Yeah.
I was able to take in a lot more stuff from that experience and stuff. I was young though, and also on top of that, I had parents who, not all of the parents were like this, but you know, it was a mixture of some of the kids had parents who were more involved and a little bit more aware. They were not necessarily stage parents, but to some people it might have seemed that way, and at the time I was like, gosh, I wish I had like a momager right now who was like on my ass and stuff. But it was honestly great in that just to have like two parents who were just supportive of me throughout the whole thing and like didn't force me ever to do anything or be anything, and like were concerned about the right things that they should have been concerned about. And they had my back. So yeah, the next star was
it sounds like, from what you're saying, it just sounds like it was like a tumultuous experience for you. Like, it feels like, from what I'm understanding from what you're saying, like, was it really like one of those experiences that were just like eye-opening in every aspect for you? Like, it just,
for sure. It was just a huge roller coaster of emotions because, like, the situation we were in, like the six of us, we became kind of our own ecosystem. It's like high school, but like all the time.
Right.
You know, we're working, I don't even know. Yeah, we were working like 10 to 16-hour days,
Oh my
6
God.
days a week.
Oh,
we
wait.
were around each other all the time. I remember sleeping a lot. I remember napping a lot on the green couch, and getting so much trouble for napping instead of practicing. But yeah, we were just, it became a lot. It was a lot to be around people that much. And for someone like me who's like neurodivergent, it's hard to be like on all the time. You know, for me, like on is like trying not to be the weirdo in the room, but also trying not to be like the socially awkward, super quiet person. But then also trying, like, it's just like doing a lot at once to like keep up with like other kids who I felt like had like social advantages over me, who were more favored by the producers, by the fans than me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I had some rough experiences on the Next Star, but coming out of it and looking back on it, I don't regret anything. Yeah.
Oh, that's honestly, it sounds like there were some good experiences, there were some bad experiences, but I feel as though, like, at the end of the day, it's like, regardless of those experiences that have occurred, like, during your time on the Next Star, it's good that, like, you were able to take a lot from it. Right? And, like, from there, it's like, I feel like now, like, since then, obviously, because it's like, now it's like you've flourished into this like incredible young woman. Back then, right, you were still young, you didn't really know much. I'm assuming like you're still young, like you were 13 when you're on the Next Star, right? So obviously, like at that age, it's like you mentioned, they're formative years, right? So it's like obviously you weren't really aware of like a lot of things that were going on back then, but I feel as though with all of those experiences you've undergone on the show, it's like you've essentially like you've created like such an amazing career for yourself, right?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I like I said, I have no regrets, and I think everything you said about that was yeah.
Oh, but great to hear because I feel as though that's actually very eye-opening because I find that like especially like on a lot of these like reality TV shows because myself I was obsessed with the next star when I was younger too, like anytime it was on YTV, like I would never miss an episode. So like just to hear you talk about like your experiences and like all the behind the scenes and like just like everything that would happen like behind the scenes, like it's very eye-opening but it's very heartbreaking at the same time because like I know you were mentioning how like like it made you realize at that moment in time that like, okay, were you like one of the only black contestants on your season or was it?
Um, so there was um two black
Yeah.
contestants. One of us, he was, you know what? I'm not totally sure what his ethnicity was. Um, but like he was like the same tone as all of us.
Right.
And then there was another like three white kids. So this was actually one of the most diverse seasons that I can remember.
Wow.
I remember like one of the like reoccurring things that was happening was like we would go to take photos.
Yeah.
All the brown kids would stand next to each other and all the white kids would stand next to each other, and then they would have to be like, wait, this looks racist, we gotta fix it.
Wow.
But it wasn't even like a purposeful thing, like we weren't even very like closer to each other or anything.
No, for sure.
But it was just a thing that kept happening in photos for some reason. We would stand next to each other naturally in group photos. Yeah. So I don't know.
That's actually, wow, that's a very interesting point. Because it's like, obviously, like, back then, it's like, it doesn't really, right? Like, you're still young. You guys probably thought it was, like, funny thing. But it's like, I feel like those little things, like, actually, like, matter. You know?
Like, if you think, like, if a photo like that had come out now, it would have been, like, so subliminal.
No, absolutely.
And it wouldn't have been totally wrong. But
because it's like I feel like you were saying like there weren't as much like like people of color on your season, so it's like obviously it's like those little instances that have occurred, right? Like the photo, like you were saying, like obviously like it speaks a lot, right? Like there's not much, like it's unfortunate that there wasn't much diversity back then, but like I feel like right now, like I can't really speak to much. I can't really speak to it because it's like I'm not a musician, like I'm not in the industry. But would you say that kind of leads me to my next question as well? Like, would you say that like in Windsor, where you're based, like would you say that there's a lot of support in the community, like from like other like musicians or like other like I guess you could say like musicians that identify as like people of color, or not even like musicians that are like black, or just like in general, would you say that there's enough support within the community, or do you find that there could be more support?
I think that there's like enough support like on like a communal level. Like I find among friends and among other musicians.
Yeah.
Yes. But I don't find that there's enough support on like a more like a higher level than that, on a more like maybe like industrial level, like within like the venues, within like media and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being told by a lot of people how good I am. And I feel like I'm proving that with my work, and I'm proving that with a lot of my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But then like I'm not getting the like attention and support from like certain people who I might expect to see it from, but I'm seeing it given to other people. Yeah. And I'm like, that's great. But I know I work hard and I know what I do. So yeah, I think I just like to see a more diverse pool of people getting like attention in Windsor. Right. And what was I gonna say? Like I'm more I also feel like where I'm at, like the community that I'm in specifically is very white.
Yeah.
But it's the community that I happen to have grown up in.
Yeah.
And created a lot of ties with and networks with, and that's why it works so well. Like with my last event at Fog Lounge, it is a very white space. But I find there's no barriers when it comes to getting support from Fog.
Absolutely.
For my music and for my shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at other places in Windsor, other venues, they have very much like branded themselves with certain genres, and even when they step outside of the genres, it's still obviously very segregated. It's only certain things. It's like very easy to know what like the white venues or the white clubs in Windsor are.
That I agree. I absolutely agree with you. I feel as though, but like honestly, like personally speaking, like even from listening to your music, I find that like your music, like you touch upon like there's a lot of influences I find in your music. Like when I was listening to it, I was getting like, especially like your latest EP, Sirens, which we're gonna dive in a little into more deeper later. I find that like even when I was listening to it like earlier on today, like I find that like your music touches upon like, you know, like several genres within the same, like, you know, within the same like obviously like body of work, but it's like you do it so well and it's like so cohesive. You know, it's like it's very experimental, but it's so cohesive at the same time. And I find that it was like so fascinating. Like there was, and like I literally heard like Afrobeat influences. I heard pop, you know, I heard a little bit of the futuristic. Like I feel like you're touching upon like so many influences, and it's like I find that like, you know, I find that like with your music, like you literally like I feel like you're reaching out to like so many different audiences. Like I find that like you're not just like stuck in like one box or like one genre. Like I find that like you reach out to like so many different audiences. It's like if I were to listen to your music, I could hear your music like literally like playing in Blanche. I could hear it playing in like Wild Child. Like for those of you who don't know, they're like clubs in Windsor. But like you know what I mean? It's like I find that like your music, like you reach out to so many different audiences, and I find that like with the community in Windsor, especially like you were saying, like it's very like niche. It's like people are very comfortable and it's like they're used to like what they know. So it's like I find that a lot of the times like people aren't as open, given that it is a smaller city, given that it is a smaller community. You know what I mean? So like that kind of leads me to my next question as well. Do you feel as though like if you were like based in like let's say like Toronto or like a bigger city per se, do you find that like you would be getting like a lot more support from like different communities?
I think that if I was in somewhere like Toronto, that maybe I might even be like pushed even more into like specific genres and specific spots and cultures and communities. However, but I think that the support might be more like consistent. Because even though like the Fog people, they love my music, a lot of them, that's not really their genre that they love, you know? And I can get people who like the music, but I can't always get fans, right? People who already listen to that type of stuff, who are looking for more, who are collectors and who want to get to know the music. But I think that it all comes down to exposure. Again, like I'm still trying to branch out in Windsor into like different communities, and I have had like experiences working like within like the underground hip hop scene and stuff in Windsor, and I've worked with like DJs and stuff on different shows, electronic DJs, and I've also now done shows as a band and with bands and stuff, and I still think there's so much more I can get into.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think just in general, I mean, Toronto, there's more people, so there's just a lot of bias for a lot of reasons why I just think it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, and that's, it's within your right as well, right? Because I find that like I find that like in smaller communities and like smaller cities, it's a lot harder for like artists to get their work out there, and it's a lot harder for them to like build their fan base.
Yeah.
A lot. It's a smaller community, and like I was saying before, it's like people are essentially like, they're used to certain things,
Yeah.
right? Right. So, but I feel like you're doing a great job at like getting your music out there, at like promoting your music, like honestly, like don't let that discourage you, girl, because like even if it feels as though like you're not getting that support, or it's like you feel like people aren't noticing your stuff, like people, trust me, girl, like you'd be surprised, people are always like watching, people are always supporting, whether it's like quietly, whether it's like discreetly, or like in your face. And I find that like even on the topic of like what you were saying earlier as well, with like you feel as though like you don't get like enough support from like your family members and your friends, like there's always going to be people out there who are always going to like support you, girl, even if you feel as though like you're not getting it from like your immediate circle. But just as long as like you keep promoting yourself and you keep putting yourself out there, there's always going to be people who are always going to be there to support you. And I just wanted to let you know that, myself included.
Thank you, sweets.
But yeah, no, I definitely did want to, mention that, and like hope that you know that as well, because you're doing a great job at like putting yourself out there, girl. So don't let that discourage you.
Thank you. I mean, regardless, I love the music and I love making it. So like being a pop star isn't even like the full end goal.
Yeah.
Like pop stars, they only last so long, unless you're a legend. Like it's you have your time in the light, and then you gotta like figure something else out.
Yeah.
And so because I'm a songwriter and a producer, like I think that's what's gonna carry me for my lifetime, regardless of like how this pans out.
Yeah.
That's something I'll always like have to offer. So yeah.
But girl, look, you're a jack of all trades, and it's good that like you also have those other skills in the bag. Like, would you like, so off of like your latest EP, like were you the one to like produce most of your music, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I the only song on the EP Sirens that I didn't produce was Please Me. That was produced by Avius.
Yeah.
But everything else I produced, I engineered it. Like I did like basic mixing and stuff, but I engineered it, recorded my vocals either with Avius for 3 of the songs, maybe 4, and then the rest of the songs I did with Mad Studios. So yeah, I'm very adamant about producing my own music.
Right.
One, because beats are expensive. Good beats are super expensive, hard to find.
Right.
And plus I can make whatever I want when I make my own beats. I don't have to, like, my sound is my sound. It's not influenced by, well, it is influenced by other people, but it's not directly influenced by choices that someone else is making about what it's gonna sound like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, no, that's honestly super impressive. Like when I hear that like artists are able to like produce their own beats, or like produce their own sounds, and they're able to like, like just like mix and master, because honestly all of that stuff sounds so foreign to me. Like it sounds so cool. I wish I knew how to. I wish, but like
it really took me a long time. Like this was not an overnight thing that I just learned how to put together. Like I started producing on my laptop right after the Next Star when I was 13. So it's been 10 years. And I just got Logic last year, a year ago. Yeah. Christmas 2021 is when I got Logic.
That is so
And before then, I was using GarageBand, which everyone has. If you have a MacBook, everyone's got it. And the whole EP was produced on GarageBand. Well, that's all the songs I did. They were all produced on GarageBand.
And it sounds amazing, by the way. Like,
thank you. Thank you.
Really, really well done. Very well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It did like the first few beats I made, not even the first few, like the first like 7 years of beats that I made were kind of rough.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what it was. I did end up breaking it was my second MacBook. I broke my second MacBook ever. Oof, and couldn't get a replacement for like a year. Couldn't make new music for like a year.
Yeah.
And something about that, once I got my new MacBook and I started playing around again, this was in 2020, all of a sudden I could make songs. I was like, why does this actually sound good? This is it. So the first song I made on my laptop was Casualty. That was the first like new song that I made.
Wow.
And I called it Bubbles at the time. That was the name of the beat.
Really?
Yeah. And I was just like, what's an arpeggiator? Like 7 years. Never touched the arcs. If anyone knows anything about music and anything about producing, that's I sound dumb. Like, oh
my God, that's so funny.
Yeah. So I found a bunch of new stuff, and then I got Logic once I was like, yeah, I'm over GarageBand. I need more.
Yeah.
But I'm very like I'm formulaic about the way that I produce and the way that I write, especially the way I produce. I usually start with like the same things. I have like a list already of like all pre-approved sounds by me that like I already like, because I can't go through 1,000 sounds every time when I already know 700 of them sound like shit.
Exactly.
You know? So after a certain amount of time, I just started writing down which ones I liked and like describing them so I could just go to them. I have like a genre that I've created called Shake.
Okay, I want
yes, yes, you know about Shake. So like Shake has like certain elements. So when I'm making a song, if I get stuck, I'm like, okay, what's the elements of Shake? How can I fill this song up? Right. And then I know what to do. Like, it's honestly kind of the same every time, even though it sounds completely different. Like, yeah, the workflow is smooth.
But honestly, I love the fact that like, you know, you have so much like autonomy when it comes to like your creative process, because I find that it's like super important as like an artist as well, right? Like you want to be able to like have that like chance to like advocate for yourself and like, you know, and like have a say in like the music and like everything that you're putting out, right? Yeah. So that's super important that like you took it upon yourself to like learn how to mix. Like you learned how to mix, you learned how to master, you learned how to produce your own music. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you songwrite and it's like you write all of your music. Like I find that that's super, super important. And like it's super impressive too, right? Because like it's very rare. I find that like with a lot of artists as well, like in like our generation, it's very rare for like people to like know how to do like, you know, like the nitty-gritty stuff like behind the scenes, right? So that's super important. It's very impressive that like, you know, you took it upon yourself to learn all of that.
Thank you. Thank you for like appreciating. I put a lot of work into it, and
absolutely. And it's
people notice. So
no, it goes in your work too. Like it shows that like you're very passionate about like what you do and like the work that you put out. So that's like it's very important. It's very, very impressive. But even on the topic of Shake, actually, because I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that, because I was doing my you know my research, and
we love to hear it.
And so like yeah, so I wanted to ask you like a little bit more about this like subgenre that you created. So like from what I understand, like Shake falls underneath the R&B umbrella. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to know if you could like explain like to the viewers like what shake is, like what this subgenre is, and how it came about.
So shake is a subgenre that came about. I was listening, there's like a lot of songs by these artists that I love that all have like these similar features that I couldn't quite like describe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like this like very alternative kind of drum movement where like you can't fully put your finger on the genre that like the drum sounds are coming from.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a mix mash. It's got to sound a little bit like you made it in your garage.
Yeah.
A little bit like homey.
Yeah.
And it's really about like movement and about like being a little bit unpredictable. So there's like certain elements that I like to add in my songs that are shake-esque.
Yeah.
Like I love putting like bongo sounds and really like moving toms in my music. I really like to add with my hi-hats, I like to add very like alternative, distorted sounds. I like for there to be a lot of off beats. It's really just like it's like music that's like too groovy to fuck to, but like
Love that.
but like
It's like
but like too sexy to dance in front of anyone else to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's the kind of vibe that I want like people to get when they listen to shake. It's like yeah, it's about I want every single element to pull out. The kick has to be pulled out, the toms have to be pulled out, the snare has to be pulled out, the hi-hats have to be pulled out. You have to hear everything.
Yeah. That's so interesting. That is super, super interesting because I find that like with your music, like I know it was like I had mentioned it before too, but I find that like there's a lot of overlap, you know, with like other genres like in your music. And I guess like that's essentially what shake is, right? Like it's just overlap, like it's the tones, it's the sounds, like it's the beats, like the snares, all of that stuff that are just pretty much like combined into like one subgenre. And I love that because I find that like with a lot of music and like with a lot of artists, it's like they struggle with that, with like fitting into like one genre or into like one box, right? And it's like essentially when it's like they identify with like one musical genre, it's like okay, they can never, you know, like branch out of that one genre. But I love how it's like you're defeating the odds. You're like, girl, I'm gonna experiment with this and this and this genre, you know what I mean? So it's really, that's very unique. It's very, very unique. And I find that it's super interesting too, because it's like I find that with me, obviously like I'm not a musician, but I find that like with music, like it's important to like experiment, right? Because like you're an artist, right? You obviously want to experiment, and it's like you want to see what works for you. And I find that there's nothing wrong with that, with like, you know, essentially like branching out and like trying, you know, new sounds and like new genres. So yeah.
Well, I want my music to kind of sound like a mixture of like a dream and a nightmare, like just kind of like
that's
slightly otherworldly, slightly uncanny vibe, but it just like pulls you in and takes you along for the ride, and you just can't get out.
Right, girl, like literally, like please hypnotize me, please.
Exactly.
No, but I love that. Like that's super, like that's honestly like when I was reading up on it, I was like, wow, like this is so interesting. It's like if I don't start to see, like if I start to see people like, you know, using this shake subgenre, it's like they're not giving you the credit, girl. They better run you your coins, because I know like within the next year or so, like we're about to see people start using like the shake subgenre. So
I would absolutely love it. If you want any other artists you can describe as shake, I would say Kalila, Ben, and Devliza, if anyone knows those three artists. Kalila just released a new album.
Oh my god. Her music is so like, oh, so like sensual. I love it. Like she's so zen.
Such a huge influence for me. I'm so obsessed.
She's She's amazing. She's honestly, she's great. She's great. I think for her, it's for me, it's her and like FKA Twigs. Like
Yes,
both of them,
FKA Twigs, so shake.
she's amazing. And I would definitely like, she would definitely fall under like the shake. Like the shake. Like her music would fall under the shake like subgenre. And I find that like even on that topic too, like I wanted to ask like mostly about like your musical like inspirations, because I find that like even with like your EP, like I find that like there was a lot of like I was hearing a lot of like, you know, the FKA Twigs influence. I was hearing the Kalila. I was kind of hearing a little bit of Grimes because I was like, okay, I'm hearing the futuristic. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm hearing like, you know, I'm hearing a lot of these like musical influences. So I want to say like, I guess like, you know, like whether it's now growing up, like who were like your musical aspirations?
Um, they've definitely
Yeah.
changed a lot. Like I had like kind of like three different like eras of my life, I feel like, when it came to like who I looked up to musically. So like starting out when I was young, like I said before, it's like a lot of what I was already exposed
Mm-hmm.
to. Um and so I am adopted. Both my parents are white. So I grew up around a lot of white music. So that's like what influenced me for some time.
Right.
Like I had my Beyonce and my Sierra and like
Absolutely,
stuff like
girl.
that. Weirdly enough, I mean maybe not that weird, but I was more of a Sierra girl
Yeah,
than a Beyonce girl for some
I think
reason.
a lot of people can say that too, honestly.
Yeah. And then like the Cheetah Girls, huge influence. I loved Hannah Montana, like I said. I loved the Disney girls. Like I was fully a Disney kid. My parents wanted to keep me like young. So I loved Demi Lovato. Like
Oh,
I remember singing so many
oh,
Camp Rock songs at the talent shows all
and
the time. It was Camp
I
Rock. This is a real, this is like so
period.
much. Or I would do the Peggy Girls song. Here I am. Here. Oh, that was the stuff.
They were honestly the OGs. Like they are literally like Demi Lovato, Hannah Montana. Like what?
That was my stuff. I was into it. And then when I was like 11 or 12,
Mm,
I met a local
yeah,
coach, Leah Harris. She was white. She introduced me to a bunch of black music though,
love
because
that.
she was like a jazz and a soul singer. She was like, no more this Miley Cyrus meet Hannah Montana stuff, all right? Etta James,
That
Ella Fitzgerald, James Brown, Nina Simone, right
on the
now.
OG. She said, "Let me put you on."
She put me on. She put me on real quick, and then it was like nothing but singing jazz music for like 2 or 3 years, and then the next star happened.
Yeah,
There was like the crossover overlap. So then I had to go back to the pop a little
right.
bit. I was kind of forced to go back to the pop just because that's what I was being asked to do for a very long time
Yeah.
until I got more into producing my own music and I had a band. So when I was like 16, 17,
Mm,
and that's also when I got a Spotify account for the first
okay.
time.
Right.
So
Right.
that was huge because before then I only ever had hand-me-down MP3 players and iPods. And then I could only buy music that I like begged my parents for when I did have an iPod, because like they were the ones with the iTunes account and
Right.
everything. And we never bought full albums. It was only ever singles.
Yeah.
So I would only have like 10 or 20 songs at a time. Didn't know how to like torrent music or anything. So yeah, having a Spotify account changed everything.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Like Spotify literally changed the music game. I feel like the Spotify's, the Apple Musics, like whew.
I think one of the first artists I saved on Spotify was Halsey.
No
It
way.
was
But
Halsey.
Halsey's amazing.
I
I
was
love
so into Halsey. I
she's
was
amazing.
so into Halsey. I was like, my ghost. I was like, me. I had like a friend at the time who like introduced me to a lot of music, and Halsey was like one of the things that we got like really into. So I like saved all of Halsey's music. I think if I were to go all the way down my like songs, I would see like 8
just like
Halsey songs in a row. There's definitely like Halsey Banks, the 1975.
oof. Ooh, girl.
I'm trying to, I don't even know, Drake.
Free.
Like I couldn't even like, because I barely had a taste at the time.
Right.
You know, I was still like developing stuff. So it was just like, what's popular? And then one of my friends is showing me.
Exactly.
And I wasn't like, I wasn't listening to jazz and soul music, you know? I liked singing it, but it wasn't what I wanted to do my homework to and walk down the hall to and stuff. Down with Webster, Woe Is Me. That was my walk down the hall song too. Yeah.
I love that.
Really into Down with Webster. Like I could go in at least like 5 songs on their whole like discography.
They're legends. Okay, did you listen to Fifi Dobson? Because you give me vibes too. She was a legend. Loved her. Okay? She's like I love her.
Fifi. When Fifi Dobson had a cameo on that one show, I'm pretty sure it was the one where like the 2 guys who ended up being on Degrassi after, where he's like an angel. Do you remember the one where he's like an angel winging it?
Oh my God, yeah.
And there's like an episode of Winging It. I swear it's Winging It or something. And she's like a cameo. And I remember fangirling watching Winging It for Fifi Dobson. Like that's...
She's a legend. I'm sorry. Like her, Fifi Dobson. Oh, love her. Love her.
Right. Who else was like... Nelly Furtado? She was also like mainstream. I feel like Fifi was like Canadian. Like there was... fans worldwide, but it was a Canadian thing.
I mean, like she's a Canadian queen, and I find that like I feel like I don't know, music is just so funny. I feel like music is timeless. Like I don't know if you've realized how like even like with Nelly Furtado and like I just find that like I don't know if you've noticed, but even like on TikTok how it's like
it's all come back,
blowing up all of a sudden. Like all of these like old songs from like years ago are just like coming back and like like just coming back and are just like blowing up out of nowhere. I just find that it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. And I feel like you mentioned, like with the Spotify's and the Apple Music's, like just like with like streaming in itself, like it's literally like changed like the music game forever.
Yeah.
Like in good and bad aspects, I find, but like I feel like with like all of these like streaming services that like have popped up like in the past couple of years, like I feel like I've heard like from a lot of artists saying that like it's a good thing because it's a lot easier for like people to access their music. But like there's also pros to like the streaming game, because I've heard that a lot of people, because I find that like with streaming, right, it's like there's been an influx of artists who are just like putting their music out there, and it's like, okay, whatever catches on, right? And
yeah,
so it's like there are pros and cons to it, but honestly I find that like with all of these like streaming services, that's how I find like all of my new music, personally speaking. Like
me too.
That's how I found like this is how I find, like, this is how I love finding like like I guess like you could say like low key or like underground artists, because it's like it's so accessible to like everybody, and it's like everybody, like obviously when you have like smaller artists who like put their music on these streaming platforms, like it's a lot easier for like people to find their music in that sense, I guess you could say. But it's like I feel like now it's like kind of similar to what you were talking about before, is like being able to create that fan base, right, and like create that support system so that like that consistent, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I find that like, I mean, the main issue with streaming services is that like the percentage that artists are getting paid is getting lower and lower,
right?
And so you have to get like an undue amount of streams to like make any sort of like living. And then on top of that, like when we went through the pandemic, there was this huge exodus of people from the entertainment industry because people were able to go to shows, which is now what the biggest thing is for artists to be able to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're getting like an influx of people getting into the industry, but it's also a lot of people who are dropping out of the industry at the same time because it's just a lot going on. It's very hectic, and there's just not the money anymore
Yeah.
that there used to be.
Right.
It was important for me as an artist to have like multiple skills, to be the songwriter and the producer as well, not only on my songs, but to be able to also like do that for other people, so I can like stay in this industry that I really love, doing this thing that I love, even if it's not in the ways that I may have wanted or planned or whatever. But yeah, I think that there is room for change, especially as more people are moving towards like hardware, like collecting CDs and vinyls and stuff like that. That's a really, really good way for artists to make money, is when people are like paying for the music.
Yeah.
So that's why I have a band camp where people, if they want, they can go and like buy downloads of the music, where they don't just have to stream it. And I get basically like all of the money from Bandcamp because they're like really, really good about like supporting artists and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where we are in the industry nowadays.
Yeah. No, there's definitely been a shift like within the past couple of years when it comes to like all of these streaming platforms. But actually kind of leads to my next question as well. Like, do you feel as though like were there ever moments like during like your musical journey, or like during like your career, were there ever moments like where you found yourself getting like discouraged, or it's like you found yourself like wanting to give up?
Not like deeply.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like I feel like I'm just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have been playing it like quite safe. I haven't really tried for anything in which a failure would like set me on my ass yet.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of taking my time and figuring out my bases and stuff. And I know like I'm 23. For some people that seems old because artists are getting younger and younger these days. But I'm also seeing another side of that, where we're seeing a lot of like mature artists come out on top and have like really dedicated fan bases. So yeah, I haven't gotten like discouraged yet, really. I haven't really wanted to quit yet.
Yeah.
I have taken time to like pursue other things and do other things and make sure I have other options, but I've never really thought yet, yeah, no, it's time to like stop paying for time in the studio.
Yeah.
And it's time to start working a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that point.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, it's good to see that, like, you know, like you've kept yourself like motivated and like determined, because sometimes I find that like artists, like, you know, when they're not getting like, when they find that like they're not getting like, you know, the support that like, you know, they would have expected from like certain people, or like certain, like, you know, like certain of their friends or their family members, it's like they find themselves like, you know, getting like discouraged, or like, you know, or just like wanting, or just they find themselves like wanting to give up. So like it's great to see that, like, you know, you still have that like determination and that drive. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, when you truly love what you do, it doesn't really like matter kind of what's going on like in the outside world and like around you. So
Right.
like I said, like I'm gonna be making music no matter what. So no failure if I'm still doing it.
Absolutely, girl. And like my sister, actually, who I run this like company with, she always tells me like, look, you can never fail at what you're good at. Right? Like you can never fail at what you're good at, right? Like if it's destined for you, if it's meant for you, then it's going to be for you. right? It's just a matter of you claiming it and like putting in that work and that effort. So, and you're doing just that, girl.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're doing great, girl. I actually wanted to shift gears and I wanted to talk a little bit more about your music.
Okay.
Specifically about your EP, actually, that you released last year on Valentine's Day, so it's already been a year. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit more about like your creative process and like your writing process and essentially just like all of that stuff. Like, so when it comes, so for like Sirens specifically, I wanted to know like what was like your main inspiration behind that project?
For the whole project, so I really like mermaids.
Yeah.
So the project and the sound behind the project was really inspired by water
Oh.
and mermaids and the whole idea of like a girl squad,
Mm-hmm.
like badass sirens around me to like protect me from like heartbreak and like lift me up and like help me through.
Ooh, I like.
So that's like what the title track is about, and that's kind of the whole kind of story and journey of it. It's really about owning what you want and owning your power.
Right.
Um, and also owning up to like the lower parts of your life, like the heartbreak and everything, owning up to when you make a bad decision in love and
Mm-hmm.
how it turns out, so then you can then triumph over that and become like a bigger, better person.
Oh,
So yeah, that's what the kind of whole inspiration for Sirens was. It was really especially driven by like the sound.
yeah.
So like the production. I just kind of like I feel like a lot of, even though my whole brand is like pink and red, I feel like the sounds that I'm drawn to are very, very blue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they just make me feel like I'm like engulfed underwater.
Yeah.
And I'm actually like terrified of drowning, and I'm actually like terrified of like the deep
Yeah.
sea, and like even going in a pool and looking in the deep end. I'm not into that. But like, so there's something kind of powerful to me about reclaiming the water as something that doesn't make me feel unsafe, but the opposite, it like makes me feel hugged and warmed. It makes me feel safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what the whole project is kind of supposed to be portraying.
That's honestly so interesting. Like, even when I was listening to like the project, I find that, I got a lot of, how could I say, bad bitch vibes from this project. Like very like assertive, like stand your ground, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like a bad bitch while I was listening to this project. That
Yes, that's what I want.
it's like, okay, like I literally like it felt like, how could I say, like, okay, like if I could get over a heartbreak or if I could get over like, like a breakup, like I could literally like conquer anything type. That's what I got from this project.
That's
For
what
sure.
I want to hear.
Oh, I love that. But like that's really like awesome to hear because like even like hearing you explain it, it's like I kind of got those vibes from the album.
Good.
Anyway. Like I think for me, like I think the one song that stood out for me was I think it was Casualty. Either Casualty or like Body. Like those two tracks, I was like,
Very
okay,
different.
I think those are the ones for me. Those are the ones for me. But
I love Casualty. I feel like that one doesn't get enough love.
it
Like that's a great song.
no, it's so good. Like it's really, really good. Like I think like it's definitely like Casualty and Body were like my top two. Like after I listened to like your whole EP. But I wanted to know actually like what's your favorite?
What's my favorite song on the EP? It honestly changes all of the
Yeah.
time. Like, I'm trying to think, what's my favorite song to sing when it starts? Oh, like Under Your Skin is one of my favorite songs to
Yeah.
sing, especially with my band, just because I get to like do the most with it. Um, I'm trying to
I know it's kind of
like
an
Casualty. I really like singing with the band.
yeah.
It's almost like it's almost hard because like I've kind of outgrown the song so much. Like I've written so much more. Like Sirens Part 2 is on the
Yeah.
way because Sirens is a Part 1.
Part one.
Um and so like it's just like looking back and like, oh, I could have done so much more. I could have done this and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like hard. Like I think Decide is the one that like yeah, I think Decide's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it just like has like it's like has like the most me in it. It like the production on it is just like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like the decisions I made and everything. It's got so much stuff that I like. Like it's like yeah, maybe it's
Girl.
Decide.
No, honestly, like the side is really good too. Like I know that was kind of an unfair question to ask on my end because I'm like, probably all of them are your favorites, you know.
It's so hard. It's easier to ask me my least favorite,
Yeah.
and I would tell you my least
Really?
favorite.
What's your least
Sirens.
favorite? No way.
It's the lead single on the
Not
song. And it's because I had like everything but the first verse for that song written for like ever. And
yeah.
the first verse is a filler. So every time it starts, I'm like, oh, this one again.
So, that is
Because
so.
it has such a shitty first verse.
Oh, you feel as though you could have done a better job. That's why you're like, ah.
I don't know if I could have. I was so lost. This is why like the big artists have co-writers, okay? You can only use so much, you know?
Right,
You
right.
know? Sometimes you just need a little bit of someone else's input.
Girl, yeah. It's like you're literally your own boss at this point. It's like it's okay to have help. It's okay to ask for help. You know, like it has to get tiring. It's like you do producing, you do all the writing, like you do all the cutting and the mixing and the you know, so it's like it could definitely like I could see why, like, you know, I definitely do understand why artists have like writers and like, you know, producers because like having to do all of that sounds exhausting.
It is hard. And it's like it's not even just to finish it,
Right.
it's to make it good. That's
Mm,
what you need the extra help for. Because
yeah.
like, anyone could write a song, but making a great song, sometimes it takes a few heads.
It sounds like it's definitely a process. It's like
And it's usually beat first. So like I was sitting on that beat
right.
for a really, really long time. And I was like, what am I gonna do? What's gonna happen? And then I went and I recorded it and I was like I said to my engineer, I was like, I don't know about this song, you know, like we'll record it, we'll put it down, but like it's not. And it ended up being one of his favorites. He raves about it.
Right.
So he made me start to like it more, and it's like when you listen to it a certain way, yeah, it gets yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my least favorite one.
Oh,
For reason.
honestly, all the songs, look, they were all giving. I was like, look, girl, I was jamming. Like, I was like, yeah, like, yo, I honestly, like, I don't even think I have a least favorite song on your album. Like, they all sounded, like, so good. Okay, first of all, so good. Like, the EP was, like, honestly, it was very well done. And like I said before, like, super cohesive. And I love the fact that, like, you know, you experimented a lot on the album as well. But, like, it sounds, like, so, like, very very well done, like it's very well put together because I find that like a lot of the times too it's like when artists try to like experiment with like different sounds on like you know on one album, sometimes it ends up sounding like a whole mess, but you did a great job, girl.
You know, I did make a point of adding elements from each of the songs. Like I kind of figured out the order as I was making it, and I added elements from like the previous song and the next song like into each of the songs, so they would like blend together. So like if you listen really, really closely, like there's bells that I use at the end of Decide, or actually that I use throughout all of Decide, that I use again leading into I Fall Apart. And then there's like something that I use like in like Casualty that like leads into my thing. And it's just like, yeah, all of them just have like little elements, little things to kind of bring them together.
That's so no super. That's actually really, really creative. Like I don't think I caught on that, but now I'm gonna go back and like listen after this interview is done. I'm gonna go back and like listen and like make sure I put my headphones and like listen to like
subtle things.
Musicians. Like that's so cool. Oh my gosh.
Just a subtle thing to like add cohesiveness.
No, definitely.
And it's not like perfect between every single song, or it's not super like obvious between every single song, but it's there.
Yeah. No, for sure. I feel like it's always like the small details that like, you know, we overlook that like essentially like bring together like a song or like just the album in itself. So like it's really interesting that like, you know, how you like added those like little like, you know, tidbits to the album. But then again, like you did a great job. It was a great body of work. No, I'm really like, you know, it's very nice to see like the outcome. Just hearing you talk about the process in itself, like it's so interesting to me, because I find that like, you know, like the process behind the body of work is so much more, because like there's so much more that goes into like, you know, creating and just like, you know, and just like putting out work. I find that like the process in itself is always like so much more like interesting, like, you know, than like the final like output. So it's just, I love hearing about like the whole process and like, you know, how you went about creating the album. So
yeah, finishing a song is like kind of unsatisfying. Really, the most satisfying part is like when you're in the middle of it, like before you add like the finishing touches and details and do the big mixing, when you've added that last element where everything sounds like, where it suddenly sounds like a song. That's the most satisfying moment. You're like, we got it! That's what I do.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's all a part of the process, girl. It's all a part of the process. No, for sure. But before we wrap up, I actually wanted to talk about, I know you mentioned it before at the beginning of the interview, but I wanted to talk about like your most recent show actually that occurred at Fog Lounge. It was actually a Valentine's Day show.
Yes.
And it's where you debuted your new band.
Cupids.
Kitty and the Cupids. And so I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit more about like, you know, just how the event came about, how it went, and, you know, just like your thoughts on how you thought it went.
Yeah. So I had been talking to Tom, the owner of Fog, like, I don't know when I started mentioning to him. I was like, so Valentine's Day, it's mine. I just like called it. It was a long time ago.
Right.
But I remember, I think in like September or October, he confirmed with me. He said to me, because I mentioned it to him again, and I was like, oh, but seriously, could I do a Valentine's Day show? And he was like, oh, I've had you booked on a Valentine's Day for months.
No
way. I thought you were like, get it together. So I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then around that time was like a good time for me to try to start getting a band together, because I had been going to Fog, so I had been meeting a lot of musicians and a lot of people had been interested in playing for me and stuff. So I was like, you know what, you're so interested, come do it. So I threw this band together with a few ragtag team friends and stuff, and yeah, we started practicing October, I want to say. Yeah, sometime in like late October. And we've been practicing. We practiced through until the practice. We had, I think, 10 songs.
Oh, wow.
By the time we got to the thing. And they're like the last song we learned like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the show. Like we were in crunch mode. It was rough. There was even a period, I think we went like 2 or 3 weeks without even a practice because it was so hard to get together. So I
Wow.
was worried. I was like, we're not gonna be able to do it. And I really have to give props to my band. So shout out to Bree Baker Young,
Yeah.
Chris White, Adam Venglar, and Jared Aiken. They would come out to practices all the way at my house in LaSalle, my parents' house,
Right.
and we'd practice it in the garage, no matter the weather. And we'd have like
Yeah.
this tiny little space heater in the corner, and then the heat of our bodies, and we'd all be playing and doing our music and stuff for like 3-4 hours at a time. And they
Wow.
would come out and they really put in work. So I really have to give
Yeah.
props to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were a huge part of getting this show together. And then there was just like the planning of the like aesthetic and everything. So like that started in like December, January.
Mm-hmm.
I started shopping around for like all the decor and everything, the merch and all of that. Getting everything together. I made like the posters. The first time I printed the posters, I spelt my um guitarist his name wrong,
Oh
his
no.
last name wrong.
Okay, it happens.
And I spelled it like really, really wrong.
Oh,
So I had to pay $30 to get them redone. And it was like,
oh,
that is my mistake. I am never making that money again.
it's just like money. Girl, times are rough. Okay, inflation. No.
It was rough. But it's okay. We fixed it. The posters turned out beautifully.
Yeah,
I still have a bunch of them. I'm gonna like hang up a couple in my room.
yeah, they're
I
so
love
good.
my posters.
Yeah, did a great job on those first posters, by the way. Like they were so pretty. Like
Canva.
oh, Canva's amazing. Okay, Canva literally the best.
Love it. I basically use Canva for like all my brand, even my music, my lyric videos. Those
Yeah,
are all made in Canva.
girl, Canva's the best.
The best, so good. I got time or money for anything else. Canva is like the garage band of photo editing.
Yeah,
You know,
Photoshop who?
exactly. Don't know her.
No, literally, we don't
Can't afford her.
know.
But yeah, so and then there was like the mini menu, I guess, of the night. So like we had like specialty drinks where you could get like candy, maraschino cherries and stuff. There was the popcorn machine and everything, the candy and all that. It was just so fun. It just felt like my like love letter to the community. I just wanted to just have this like lovey-dovey pretty party and like give them all free stuff. And so I gave all this candy and popcorn out for free and stuff. And even though it was like, I'm gonna charge for it, and I just got there and I was like, it's okay, you can have it.
Aw, that's so awesome.
Yeah. And then oh, you know what?
Yes.
I did a jar of love notes. It was called the Love Confessions jar.
Oh, I love
And I just put it on a table with the signed Love Confessions, with some papers and some pens.
yeah.
And just let people do what they want. And people actually filled it out. And there's like a bunch
Okay,
in
that's
here.
so
I
cute.
was not expecting it. And I haven't read them yet. I really want
You
to.
should.
I really want to. But I don't know what I should do. Should I burn them? Because like I feel like that's like also kind of poetic and beautiful. Should I read them and burn them?
Now I'm gonna say go with that option. I think you read it and then burn it.
Yeah, like I should just like live stream. I read it, but I don't show it to anyone
Yes.
else. You just see my reaction. And that's
Oh my god, I didn't throw it out, but I love that. That's so creative. Oh my gosh. And I love that people actually participated. That's
yeah, it was surprising. So next year, if I do it again, I'm gonna make an even more obvious sign, make like a thing of it. Actually have a plan with what I'm gonna do with them after. I don't think. I mean, I didn't put anything about what I was gonna do with them after. So I mean, I kind of have to assume anyone who filled one out is okay with anything. You know. I didn't say you had to put your name on it. I do really want to read some of these. I think I did see my name on a couple of them, so
Bro,
if you have a crush on me,
no, literally,
you gotta let me know now.
speak up, just speak up or forever hold your peace. No, honestly, like I make this a yearly like tradition at Fog Lounge if you do have the chance, because like seems like the turnout was great, like even from the videos. Like unfortunately I couldn't come, like because I worked on Valentine's.
It was standing room only,
But
so it would have been rough,
girl, but like it looked like the turnout was great. It looked like a lot of people like came out to support. Like it looked like it went really well. Like even from the videos that I caught on your profile, like you honestly, like you guys sounded great. You guys sounded amazing. Okay, like it was very, very well put together, very well done. So like I'm glad to hear that like the event went well, because it looked like it went well, and like it looked like you looked amazing too. So
yeah.
it was that. That's so no, it's super, super awesome. But like I really wanted to know too, like, do you have any other like upcoming events or any upcoming like performances that we could attend?
Performances officially, no.
Okay, that's
No. In the works with some US dates in March, though.
Ooh.
In the works with some Toronto dates in May.
Okay. We love to
but always got stuff going on in Windsor.
absolutely
Check out katvalentine.club, my website /shows.
yes.
If you want to see all the show action, what's going on there. I do have a song coming out. It's called Hold. It's coming out on March 17th.
Period. Send us, do you already have a cover art? Send us the cover art. We'll post it on Freegxrl.
I do. Okay, I will. I will send it. It's super cute. It's super Kat Valentine-esque. It's so branded. Yes, I'm obsessed. Yeah. Very excited for this song to come out because it's a filler song while we wait for the next song, which is 10 times better. And I'm so much more excited for it.
I love that.
But the filler songs tend to go well for me. I Stayed Awake was a filler song, and that's my most popular song ever. And it was on Spotify editorial playlists and stuff. So who knows with these filler songs? I mean, maybe throwing it away is key to success.
Honestly. But no, I love to hear that. You know what? Look, guys, viewers, you heard it here first, okay? March 17th.
March 17th. Hold by Kat Valentine.
Hold by Kat Valentine, okay? And where can they, where can the viewers stream your stuff? Where can they, do you have any merch? Do you have
stream it absolutely everywhere? I don't have any official merch, but I do have jackets available on Shop Valentina Vintage, the Instagram page. There's an order link, and those are my merch right now. Oh, I will be releasing stickers and posters. I can preview those if I can find one. Oh my gosh. Okay, don't know. Oh, poster.
Yeah.
Here's a poster.
Oh, this is
my stickers over here. Okay, no stickers, but this is the poster right here.
This is so awesome. I love it.
Nice paper. Okay. They're usually $5 to $10 at the show.
Perfect.
And then the sticker is just my logo.
Love that. Oh my God, it's so
the little logo right there is what the sticker is. It's all pink, very cute.
Love that.
And those are $2 at the shows, and they will be available online soon.
Love that. Bro, you guys, you heard it here first, okay? You could find Kat, okay, on Spotify, YouTube, and then you also have your personal site as well. Even if you want to type it in the chat, Kat, and then like I could pin it so that everyone can, so that everyone can know. But yeah, everyone. When you heard it here first, okay? Y'all better stream, okay? You better stream Kat Valentine's EP, Sirens, as well. Also, on that topic, do you happen to know, like, is there a Sirens? I know you said there was a Sirens part 2 in the work.
Yes.
So do we have a release? Is the project done,
So
or
the
is it?
project is in the works. I
Oh,
have like a couple of the next songs
yeah.
out, but I have so much like back and forth like with different singles that are just not fit for Sirens that I do want to release too. So I'm thinking Sirens Part 2 will be a next year Valentine's Day thing, but leading up to there will be at least 3 or 4 Sirens singles that drop.
Perfect.
So you're gonna get lots of teases, lots of action, and it'll be so super totally worth it. I'm thinking we're gonna drop it as a deluxe album, so
Yeah.
then you get a new taste of all of the songs we already love in a new order, mixed with all these brand new songs. So yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I will look. I will be on the lookout, okay, for these teasers. Okay. I will be on the lookout for when the album is going to drop. Okay. Because Sirens Part 1 was great. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Thank you so much.
Definitely, honestly, Kat, like it was such a pleasure, chatting with you tonight. Like, thank you so much for taking the time out of your night, to do this and to be here with me and with like all the viewers. Like, it was just like great to like hear you talk about like, just your music
Thank
and
you
just
for having
career.
me.
Like, it was just so inspiring to hear. Like, you're doing so great, girl. Like, honestly, like I wish you nothing but the best. Okay, like keep doing your thing. Like, incredible music, like you're making, like you're doing amazing for yourself, and like it shows that like you're passionate, like even in your work it shows for itself, it speaks for itself, is all.
Thank
Like,
you.
oh, keep doing your thing, keep doing you, never change, okay, keep being a free girl, okay, you are the embodiment of a free girl.
Thank you so much, Sheena, and thank
Yeah.
you to Freegxrl for having me. I am so honored to be doing this, especially during Black History Month. So, yeah.
Absolutely. No, and honestly, like, like I said, and like Kat was saying before too, like you guys could stream her music on any streaming platform. I pinned her website as well, so if you guys want any more information on Kat Valentine's music, you guys could check out her website, which is katvalentine.club.com. So and then I know you mentioned you had your merch. Is it an Instagram page, or can they also
Yeah, so the merch, you can find the merch on the website as well under
Okay.
the shop
Okay.
thing, but it'll link you to the Instagram page, which is where it's all like posted.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, Kat. I appreciate you and I appreciate your time that was spent with us today. I honestly, I had so much fun. I had a lot of fun just
Me
learning more
too.
about you. Like, it was great. I think it went awesome.
Me too. So I was nervous, but I kept up. So.
Oh, girl, you did more than me. No, what do you mean, girl? You did amazing. But like, no, honestly, girl, like whenever you have a show in Windsor, like now that like okay, I did a lot more like digging and investigating. Now that I know that like you're always like having shows at like Fog Lounge, like I'm not gonna lie to you, like Fog Lounge is kind of intimidating because like there's a lot of like good artists perform there, and it's like
Most of them are really, really nice.
I know. It
Like,
just
come say hi to me. I'll introduce you to all my friends.
no, honestly, like when's your next show? Like, do you have any shows like coming up? Like,
Not like officially.
yeah,
I don't have any official dates, but you know I am at Fog Lounge almost every single Monday, basically.
yeah.
Because that's when they have the open mic. I perform almost every single Monday.
Oh,
You can find me there.
okay.
But yeah, no official gigs,
Okay.
dates as of now.
As of
But
now.
definitely stay tuned. Even within like the next couple weeks, I might be announcing some stuff. So
Okay, perfect. Because I need to see you live. I've never seen any of your live performances, but I'm like, no, girl. I know you have a voice on you, girl. Like,
oh, it's a time. It's a party.
I know, but you know what? Honestly, like whenever you have, I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out because I'm like, okay, look, there's no excuse. I am in Windsor, so I will definitely be popping out. I'll be pulling up to one of your shows sometime soon. So
Yes.
that's a given. That's a given, girl. But yes, we'll do, girl. But definitely DM the Freegxrl page your cover art, and then we'll be sure to like post it and like promote it. I don't know if you started promoting on your personal page yet, but yeah.
I have been posting on the story. I haven't announced on the main page yet. It's coming.
Okay, perfect. Okay, because I don't want to post it before you post it on your main page. So once you do, we'll be sure to like repost, and like we'll also post it on our page as well. So just send me all the info in the but
Lovely.
yes, please. But aside from that, girl, thank you so much for tonight.
Thank
Um,
you for having me again.
of course, I wish you nothing but the best. Okay, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank
You know,
you
and
too.
thank you, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Bye. Thanks,
All
Freegxrl.
right, all right, thanks, Kat. All right, everyone. So that was